You can do custom typed arrays in GDScript. Alright, so I've been looking around online as I do, seeing what kind of questions people are asking, see what kind of things people are stuck with, things that people may not know. So this is on occasion some old stuff, sometimes some new stuff. Wherever the searches take me, right? All different forums and websites and everything. And there's one thing that stuck out to me, and that was whenever somebody would ask if you could do a typed array, and this is usually them coming from, coincidentally, the ones that I was seeing. The ones I was seeing was actually coming from some Unity people that were coming over to the engine here. Not last month, right? But maybe a few years ago they were coming in. It's interesting, but anyways, before we completely derail and go off topic with that, people were asking questions, and one of these things were like typed arrays, and I saw they were getting responses, and some of these responses were people saying you can't do that. All arrays or all objects inside of an array is a variant array, and it's not true. You can type them in GDScript, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. It's very easy to do. If you're coming from Unity, maybe you'll find this extremely useful with moving into GDScript. And if some of you guys were using GDScript in the past, maybe this is something brand new to you, and this will help narrow down, of course, the types of your variables just that much more. Now, obviously, in C#, now this is just an example, right? C# you would come in like this, you go like that, and now you would have an array for your integers, right? You'd come in, you'd be like a public int, boom, right? Like math scores, right? And then, of course, go ahead and assign your variables to that. Well, in our case, we actually do that a little different. I'm actually going to jump out of this script. I want it to be in my player script here. And as you see, I'm going to go ahead and export var, right? So I'm going to export my variable. This is going to be, let's just call it my stuff, right? And this is an array. Okay, cool. Nothing fancy. And we can see in the inspector, we have my stuff. We have an array. It's got 0 items in it. It's got 0 for the size, and we add an element, they come up as null. And if we hit the item on the side here, well, we basically have everything that we could need there. And that's okay. I mean, if you don't need any specific types, and of course I can come in here, right? So inside the ready function, we're going to say my stuff dot append, right? And we'll put a string in there, and we'll do my stuff dot append. We'll put some numbers in there, right? For example, we have both those things in there now. So if we were to run that, and I'm just going to hit over to my remote tab, I'm down here to my player, and if we take a look inside the inspector now, we have my stuff. It's got an array of 3 things. It's got the null that I had in there to begin with. We have my string, and we have an integer. So we have integers, strings, and nulls all in there. That's not, well, probably not great for what you want. So we can actually type this very, very easily. And all we have to do is, after typing the word array here, is put in our square brackets or square braces, whatever you want to call them. And inside of those braces, brackets, put in the type. For example, if we type in string, now we can only have an array of strings. ASDFA is going to be in there, but our integer that we tried to append is actually not going to show up at all. So if we run that and take a look in the remote, take a look at player that has the script on it, we can see our array has a size of 1. So we can see the integer that we had in there, 324534, that we tried to append was rejected. And that's related stuff that you see down there in the demo. Assuming you can see it on screen there, the debugger, is that stuff that we're appending things that we can't. So the null that we had in there, it was removed, and the integer we tried to add was rejected. So you can do that to add in any type. So we can go ahead and we can change this to be an array type of integers. And we go ahead and run that, and we'll take a look. We'll see the null was removed, and the string was ignored, and now we just have our int. And there you go. Now, what's neat about this is we can use this with custom objects, right? Including things like our resources. So I just have a resource open here, and I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna say class name, food, so it's gonna be a food object, right? So export var, it's gonna have a name. Alright, that name's gonna be a string, and it doesn't need anything by default. I'll go in, add a few more, right? So we'll say cal for your calories, and we'll say description. Calories is probably going to be an int. And just give me one moment. I'm going to go ahead and just write up the initialization method here. Alright, so I've gone ahead and written up the initialization function for this class, and I've got a few arguments in here, and those arguments get set to our variables here. Now, if you've never actually created a class before, or you don't know about the initialization function for whatever reason, this initialization function is what happens as soon as an object is created. So when you say object.new, for example, if we said food.new, we would now have an error because we need some arguments in here, right? So we would need a string, an integer, and another string in this case. So we need all three of these items here. And those correspond to the arguments you put into the initialization function here. Alright. So I thought I'd just mention that in case some of you guys don't know. I have run into quite a few people that don't know about the initialization function. But point is, we're done there. So if we go back to my player here, I can come in here and I can make this array a type of food, right? So it's a food array. So if I were to look at this now, I can come in here and you see my first entry no longer is null. It's actually an empty object. So I can sit here, new food. If I open that up, there's our name, our calories, and our description. And if we were to go ahead and run this, again, ignoring that, we jump over to our remote, go to our player, and we take a look at my stuff, and we have nothing there because the first item was completely empty, so it wasn't even an object yet. The string is rejected, and the integer is rejected. So now if we want to add an item, we would now have to go mystuff.append food.new and pass in those arguments. So we'll say apple. Next was an integer for calories. We'll say 30. And then we had description. This is my apple. Alright. So if we were to run that now, take a look at the remote, take a look at our player, we can now see we have an array of one item. It's an object. We click on that. We have our name, calorie, and our description all in there. And we could see down here at the bottom, or at least underneath that, this comes from the food resource with a default value of an empty name, 0 calories, and an empty description. And we can see this comes from the resource class, which resources has a couple things on its own. Alright, so there you go. There's how you can do typed arrays. You can actually use typed arrays, including using your own custom classes. So if you want to have a typed array of your specific object, you can do that very easily. Alright, so I just let you guys know about that. I feel like I'm about to just ramble on and start repeating things, so I'm going to end it here. Take care. Have yourselves a good one. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If there's something that you want to see, again, leave it down below. and maybe it'll be the video for next week. All right, take care.